There we go. Yay. I've been the director of TTF for 11 years. And it has been an amazing honor and I love it. And we have an incredible team. So Alex, you want to go next?
Yeah, I mean, as it says on my screen, my name is Alex Rosario. I'm the Philadelphia District Leader for Tacony Creek Watershed Partnership, or as everyone says it, TTF Watershed for short. And I've been here almost a year now. It's like 2 months, going to be a full year. I started back in April of last year, so I'm part of the team. It's nice to see everyone. Thank you for joining.
Will you pass it on?
Oh, Gwen Espinoza.
Ben, can you unmute yourself?
Am I still muted? I thought I was.
No, Frank, you're.
There's no cross. I don't know what happened.
No, Gwen, I'm trying to have Gwen go next. And
All right, how about Frank, you go then.
Yeah.
Gwen can figure out her phone.
You can't hear me now?
No, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Frank Coyle. I'm from the Hurricane section of the city. And I guess I've been a keeper with the Tacony Frankfurt Creek Association for about a year and a half, 2 years now.
Awesome.
And
all right, Frank, now pick the next person you want to go next to talk.
So Gwen still seems to be muted. Fiona, you want to go next?
Yeah, I've been kind of a part of the group for maybe a couple of years. And I've done a couple of, the ACT activities, and I'm really psyched to see what everyone's doing and making the river a better place. So for everyone to enjoy.
Okay. Gwen, can you unmute? Or do you not want to unmute? All right, so we'll wait till Gwen figures this out. So we're very excited to welcome Malcolm.
Julie, you didn't miss one person, you missed Kevin.
Oh, there he is. Oh my God. I'm so sorry, Kevin, go. You were like right under me there.
Good, appreciate it, Malcolm. Thank you, Julie. Hi, everyone. My name is Kevin. I'm an organizer with 2 and 5 People's Alliance. We're a community organization based in Philly. We have a lot of members around the Longcrest area, very close to Tacony Creek. I grew up in Philly, grew up around Longcrest, so I'm very familiar with Tacony Creek. So really appreciate the work y'all are doing. And I'm just here to, support and also let you know about some of the work that we've been doing at 2 and 5 in regards to cleaning up areas that are actually very close to Tacony Park, and working on issues such as illegal short dumping in the Longcrest area.
right. Okay.
Okay.
And,
Thank you, Kevin. We're really glad you joined us. Gwen, do you want to try again?
It's working now.
Yay.
There you go.
All right, my microphone, I couldn't figure out how to put it on. My name is Gwen Espinosa, and I don't even know how long I've been a part of Park Keepers. I don't know, a year or two. I moved to Albany from a different part of the city around being Allegheny about maybe 5 years ago. And I just love nature. I love being outside, and I love helping to keep our city cleaner because trash drives me crazy.
Muy bueno.
Now we have everybody. So we're really excited to welcome Malcolm. He is our new Philadelphia community organizer, and we're going to let him, now he's going to take it away and introduce himself some more and talk about our master plan survey.
So as Julie mentioned, I'm the new Philadelphia community organizer. I started about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I'm really excited to be working with all of you guys. Excuse me. I started working with TTF back in 2019 as their summer intern. And from there, I went on to work with them kind of like outside the office. I worked as the Vernon Park Rain Garden caretaker for the last 2 years. So I'm really excited to be working with them like in a bigger capacity now, like in the office and reaching out, like having more of an impact. So I'm really excited for that. as Julie mentioned, I was going to talk about the master plan survey. So I'm just going to share my screen real quick. Can everybody see that? So the master plan survey, it's a really fun interactive survey we're doing. We're working with consultants from natural lands in an effort to get the park, to kind of get community feedback for the park, kind of what people use it for, how often they use it, what they use it for, and the problems that they've noticed within the park. That way we can kind of take this survey to the city to kind of be like, hey, people like using this park, like Gwen said, but like there's trash everywhere and it drives people crazy, like they don't want to use it, stuff like that. We started this survey, Julie, you said like in December is when we started putting it out.
It was completed, it was ready to go online in December, which is obviously a tough time.
It's a tough time, but
to start something new.
It is, but I'm really happy that since December and it's being such a tough time, we have gotten like over 100 surveys completed so far, which I think is really good considering. So I don't know if any of you guys have had a chance to look at this yet, or like if you really know too much about it. You can find it on the TCP Keepers website, right under the master plan link. It comes in 2 languages, English and Spanish. And it's a very, in my opinion, like really straightforward, comprehensive survey. It really tells you like step by step kind of what it's asking. So like the first page is kind of like, we want to hear from you, like a nice little intro. And then as you go through the sections, it asks you like, why do you come to Tacony Creek Park? And it, get rid of that. As you can see, it has several different options for why you use it, whether it's just to get outside, whether you use it for recreational, you go with your kids. And even if you don't see something listed on there, there is an icon right here, this little word bubble, where you can submit more specific reasons if you don't see yours listed. This is that part that I mentioned earlier about how it breaks down, like how often do you visit the park? Why do you visit it? That way we can get a bigger sense of who uses the park and for what. And then issues that you may see with the park, type of improvements that you would like to see, ideas for programming, anything like that. There's a section for why you think the park is important. For some people, it's just nice to have an area to get outside. For other people, it's because they grew up in the area, they have like a personal connection to the park. I know we had a project which we interviewed with, I believe it was Only Culture Lab, Julie.
Mhm.
We interviewed people in the area, and they shared a lot of personal connections, like their stories about why the park matters to them, which was really nice. And then there's a really fun interactive section of the survey in which it gives you 100 imaginary dollars, in which you can shows how you yourself would spend money in the park if you had the opportunity. Everything from park maintenance to signage and park information, safety concerns, landscape restoration, and all that. And it's just like a little thank you wrap up. It's going to ask you some final questions. And all of these things are really important to kind of get a better sense of what the community wants from the park. That way, it's just not somebody being like, oh, I want trash, whereas another person may want more community programming or safety concerns, which I know are on the agenda later today. So if you guys are comfortable, I wanted to ask if, I know I talked to one of the other TCP keepers, Pete, and I sent him a flyer, like a copy of it. He's taking it to his neighborhood like meetings. I just want to see if any of you guys would be open to or comfortable with doing something similar with that. And if so, I can email you the flyer. Like I said, you can find it on the TCP Keepers website.
And we can also get you copies of the flyer.
Yeah.
So as Malcolm, so Pete Carter, who some of you know, is really helping in his area get the word out. I mean, this is really important for a couple of reasons. This is the tool that that our consultant is using to gather information. we're really excited because we think it's a really nice, it's a very interactive survey. It has a lot, you've seen it, it has a lot of pictures of the park. We think it's much better in sort of getting people's feedback and input because it's sort of more fun, more appealing to do. So, it's providing a lot of information about what people want to see and what their concerns are. That'll be part of what gets recommended in the master plan. And then, and I know Kevin knows this, the more people that we have who do this survey and are part of this process, the greater impact we'll have in making sure that the recommendations in the master plan get funded and that city council makes this a priority. So we would like to get a lot more surveys completed. Again, as Malcolm said, it's also in Spanish. That was really important to us to make sure that it was also in Spanish because that's that's the language that most of the, sort of next to English, the language most of the folks in our communities speak. We wanted to make sure that was available. So you can share it in a lot of ways. You can share it on social media. It's on our Instagram, it's on Twitter. We're constantly posting it. We have a social media kit that we can send to you that you can really use easily to share it. And then, like Malcolm said, if you're willing to canvas with flyers, ask the local bodega if they'll stick one up. Give some to your neighbors that you see regularly. That will really help us. Word of mouth is really effective.
Also, if you see anybody in the park kind of walking around, Julie and I did go throughout the park and put up little signs in the park. So that's also another option.
And what's really cool is that on the flyer, there's a QR code. So people can go right. So this is amazing to me. So people can go right to the survey on their phone and do it and get access with the QR code. So please get in touch with Malcolm to follow up and how you can. Yes, we can. I don't know how to share the link, but you mean to the survey?
Yeah, I can put that in the chat right now.
Yeah. Malcolm's really good at sharing. I'm not so good at sharing. So be in touch. Let us know, whatever way is easiest for you. We're counting on the keepers to help get this out. One of the cool things that Malcolm's going to do is take a tablet into the park and walk around and come to events when it's busy, because you can just do this, people can do this on a tablet and not everybody has a computer at home or a smartphone. So Malcolm, you think we're good with?
I think so, unless you have anything. I think we covered all the bases in regards to the survey and everything.
Yeah. The one update that we have, right now, the survey is sort of the main thing. Natural Lands is continuing to work and do interviews with stakeholders, and they've been out, in the field, looking at the park, mapping the park. One of the things that we included was a couple of pilot projects so that things would actually happen while this was going on. So the first one has begun. It's a project that we're working with the Alney Culture Lab on with Ambrose Liu and some artists, and it will result in a few signs in the park, that actual physical signs that tell the story of it'll be people from the community talking about the story of where they're from and how they connect to the park. So it'll, we have a limited budget, so it won't be like 15 or 20 signs. It'll be a few signs, but what we're hoping is that people will really love them, and then we will do more of them. And Ambrose is working with a graphic designer and a photographer, all from Philly, and then an audio person, because what we were thinking of doing is also potentially putting a QR code on the sign so that people can hear a story, like you're in a museum, which would be pretty neat. So that's really the master plan update. So I think what we want to do is we have a bunch of positive stuff to report, but there's been a lot of stuff going on in the park. I hope that people saw the most recent email newsletter that we sent out. We really, we've been hearing from people and experiencing some pretty severe issues in the park, just like in the world around us these days. And we don't usually sort of put the word out like we did in that newsletter, but we really want to make sure that people take care of themselves. And we also, sometimes people contact us and we want them to, to feel free to call 911. We put the ranger's phone number in that, and please call the ranger. If you're in their park and their ATVs, it's much more impactful for you guys to call than it is for us. So we just want to sort of open this up for people who have issues and want to talk about, how we're going to move things forward. And I know Gwen probably has some stuff to talk about, maybe.
Well, I was going to ask, and sorry that I didn't see it, but in the newsletter, what were the issues that were brought up? Because I don't think I saw the last one or read it fully.
And Edna had contacted me with some issues, but I guess she's not on. So, the issues continue to be ATVs, loud, noisy, scaring people on the trail. So that has continued. We have found bullet casings more than we had in the past along the trail. And we've also heard gunshots in the park, pretty consistently. So that's awful. And we want to let people know about that. We want people to be safe and to be aware of that. I think the places where this sort of happens is between like Fisher's Lane Bridge and Whitaker and Loudon. That seems to be the major area. And what we wanted to do is tell people, clearly, if there are ATVs, please get out of the way, take care of yourself, and you can call the rangers. I would call the rangers. And we provided that phone number, and we can figure out how to share that again. If you hear gunshots, get yourself to a safe place and call 911. And we know how really difficult it is to get police response. But they will, if you hear gunshots, call 911. Please do that, and then get yourself someplace safe. And if you see shell casings and you have the time, I would also call 911, because they will actually come out, because if there's shell casings, it's a crime scene. And we have had, I'm sure some of you guys have seen this, and we've had some positive stuff. We've had a couple of signs that were used for target practice. And those, Alex replaced those this past week and the week before. So, we worry about when stuff doesn't get, we know this, we all know this, when stuff doesn't get repaired and maintained, it just gets worse. So we're trying to make sure with our limited, we're not Parks and Recreation, with our limited capacity, that stuff like that gets fixed. And that things don't continue to be neglected. The other issue has been people with hunters with like bows. What are they called? Bow hunting. Crossbows, there's the word. And that's been seen around Fisher's Lane. We've seen this in the past, but not maybe like once every few years. That's obviously really concerning. It's a small park. The city does do deer culling, which they have to do, and we're okay with that because we don't want the park to get completely eaten up by all the deer, and it actually helps take care of the population better. But we've seen some guys down near Fisher's Lane with crossbows, and if you see somebody with a crossbow, call 911. And if you feel safe, take pictures. That always helps. But don't do that if you feel like that's going to put you in any danger. That's the major stuff. The other issue is just if we've had some issues with the Fisher's Lane driving range. That is, the owner has leased it to an individual. It's not a driving range anymore. It's been really unclear to us what this gentleman is doing on that property. He doesn't, we've talked to him, we've met with him. He doesn't seem to understand what the boundaries are and the limitations on a piece of property next to the creek. It's a floodplain, it has steep slopes. You can't just do stuff there. And we have learned that he has farm animals there. So we really love animals, but that's not an appropriate place. And it's pretty clear he doesn't have a permit. So he should be getting a visit from the health department. That was of concern to us. I think that's it. Did I leave anything out, Alex?
No, you touched on everything.
Can I say something for a second?
Please, yes.
So it's interesting. That's why I was asking what the newsletter said, because the first issue, so back when we moved here, I got so excited because I didn't realize that I was close to Tacony Creek. And so I like going on walks. And I remember when I found it, I would go with my children because it's so close to us. We would walk over there for our walks and take scooters. And it's so sad because one of the times we were out there, a dirt bike went by, like a whole bunch of people, of course, just like zoomed by. And I've actually approached people, like I don't let them just get by. And they're like, oh, I'm so sorry, I won't do it again. But we all know they're just, I mean, they're saying that just to be nice or whatever. But anyway, so I remember when that started happening, my youngest daughter, she would start, when we would talk about going on walks, she'd be like, no, mommy, I don't want to go around here. And it broke my heart because I want to, I want to be able to use the parks that are around me, and I want to encourage other people to do it. So that was the first thing that happened. And so it's like, it's so discouraging that I'm the main one that I'll go on walks on my own. I probably shouldn't go on my own, but I end up doing that, like early morning, I go on walks. But then the second thing that happened, it's interesting you brought up the gun, because it was the one time I went on a walk with my whole family. And, mommy's pushing them out the door. They didn't want to go. And so when this happened, I was like, oh, are you serious? So we're in the park, just going on a nice family walk. And we heard gunshots like so close to us. And again, my youngest daughter starts crying. She's shaking. She's like, mommy. And we just kind of stood there like, it's okay, Brielle. But of course we were all, really concerned too. And so we couldn't do anything. We just stood there. And then after a little while, a whole bunch of people just kind of ran down the trail and then went up, up through the trees. So I didn't know if that was something. And so now she's even more terrified and doesn't want to go on walks there. And it's beyond frustrating. So I was going to ask, were the gunshots that people have been hearing, is that something that has been heightened recently, or has it been something that was ongoing? Because I don't remember, from the 5 years that, I think it's like 5 years that I've lived here, I don't remember ever hearing, and this was like in the middle of the day. So is that something that has been heightened, or was that always an issue?
I think it's been heightened. I mean, we're in a really bad time and people are stressed. I mean, it's not, the park is supposed to be a refuge. But the city has it's surrounded by neighborhoods with gun violence, and not all of them, but the city has there's no, you can't keep this out of the park. And I think at some point it was better, but I think what's going on in the city has gone into the park too, and it's not our sort of strategy has always been that the more people in the park, the safer it will be. And it's really true with trails and everything else. If you're on a trail and you can see somebody in front of you and somebody behind you, you feel safer. It makes it harder for the bad guys, on ATVs or with guns to be in a place where there's a lot of families. But, I think, I know it's hard not to be really depressed about this when we see what happens in Philly every day. I think one of our frustrations, so it's always been getting more people out, getting more people in groups if they felt safe. That's why we do all these programs, because we want people to be on the trail and we want them to feel safe. And we need that, people need that space. During the beginning of COVID, we saw an incredible increase in people using the park, and it was so positive. It was really positive. I think at one point we did a survey about we did a petition about ATVs that we sent to the council women. The park is Councilwoman Sherelle Parker and Maria Quinones Sanchez. And Parker responded. We had some conversations with her. Maria did not. So if, for people who live in her district, we need your help to really push her. And, I think the ATVs are a tough issue because people, I think there's a culture of people using those things in parks and these kind of places where they think it's okay. And, the city has been driving people off the streets where there's a culture of doing this too. That's something that people find positive. It's a community thing. So it's really complicated, but I think having people like you, Gwen, talk to people. I mean, we would like to figure out, but we were talking about this before COVID, how to have a conversation with people. Because many of the people that use ATVs in the park are neighbors,
And you also mentioned park rangers. I didn't even know they existed.
So they're like gremlins at this point. They're sort of like fairies. You don't really get to see them. So Philly is really, there's not enough Parks and Rec staff to cover all the parks. So park rangers, there's a staff of park rangers that are really spread out. And depending on which park it is a park ranger for like the Northeast District that covers the Pennypack and covers river, the Delaware River. And you see the park ranger at parks where they actually unlock gates. We're not that kind of park. So we really very rarely see the park ranger. And I think that but we have the ability to say we need the park ranger here. And it's Philly where you push is where I think that I think the Parks and Recreation needs to see that people actually use this park a lot and they really care about it, just like the Wissahickon, and they need to make sure that they get people out to deal with this. So that's why we put the park ranger number out there. That's like a 911 for park rangers. I think it's answered 24/7. And they're supposed to get somebody out when there's a call like that. There's something else I was going to say. One positive thing that we're seeing is that Power Corps, which is a workforce development program that we work with, that Alex was part of. It's a really great training program, and they are starting a ranger training program, because they are trying to find jobs for the people that go through that program. And they know the city needs park rangers. And I think they have gotten a commitment from parks to increase the number of park rangers. So this summer, we are supposed to have spring, summer, we're supposed to have two apprentices, right, Alex? Yeah, two rangers, and they're doing them in pairs, which we think is a really great idea. And they will be out on the trail. They'll be supporting programs. They'll be doing cleanups. They'll be talking to people. They'll be in uniform, and they're being trained in all kinds of really good things, like trying to deal sensitively with conflict and all that kind of stuff. So we're positive about that.
Can I ask another question on about the park rangers?
Of course.
Yeah. Is this a private group of people, or is this part of the city parks department, or as it was years
part
ago?
Of parks. It's part of Parks and Recreation. Yeah.
So that's their city. They would be city employees then, rather than like the federal employees down at the Independence Hall and those areas.
Right.
Because they have park rangers down there, but they're federal.
Right. So the ranger program was part of Parks and Recreation. They were just, they wore uniforms that said Parks and Recreation. They don't carry any weapons or anything, but they are in a uniform. They're trained and they're out there. And I think the park so much needs people who, look like they have some authority and are there to make sure that people feel safe that are on the trail.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question. So thank you to everyone that's been helping with this creek. I mean, I grew up going to this creek, and I've seen the improvements, I've seen the artwork, the murals, and it looks amazing. So really just like shout out to everyone that's been really like making this park look really good. One of the things that that I'm organizing with people, and one of the things that we definitely want to take a look at is also like this master plan survey that I'd be happy to let people know what's going on. But one of the things that the 215 People's Alliance is looking at areas that are within, like around the boundaries of Tacony Creek, that are hotspots for short dumping, like, you know, illegal trash dumpings of, you know, construction materials, all types of debris. And one of the locations that we found was the 5600 block of Newtown Ave, which is between Adams Avenue and Godfrey. And that was like a really bad spot, and it is still to this day. We have seen some improvements, and we're working to have cleanups that area. I was wondering if anyone here knew of other areas that are within the vicinity of Tacony Creek that is also a hotspot for illegal trash dumping.
Oh, so we can give you a map of spots where there's short dumping. That's why, and we didn't even talk about this. I mean, that's one of the issues in the park that's really serious too. It has gotten better. And, you know, it used to be like at Tabor and Olney for a while. We actually installed a guardrail there. We installed a gate there because there wasn't one. And what was happening was it was really easy for people with pickup trucks to drive in and dump things. And that has really stopped. But we can put together a map for you, Kevin, of the places with the most short dumping. And that's, you know, this is wonderful. One of the challenges with the parks is it's so pervious. So there's no fences, you know, I mean, people chuck stuff over their back, you know, over their back fences. People throw stuff off Whitaker Avenue. I mean, it really has incredible short dumping. And the challenge is that, you know, we do cleanups all the time, but there's stuff that that volunteers can't clean up. We don't have a trash truck. We don't have really any, you know, we don't have a gator. We don't have equipment. So we would love your help with that. We are actually, one of the worst areas is at Whitaker. You know, people throw stuff over that bridge. The slopes are really terrible. And we have a cleanup because we've tackled this before and we need more help. So that we have a cleanup scheduled there on March 19th with your fave trash man, because he gets attention. He has a lot of followers. He tweets at, you know, elected officials and really shames them to come out and clean. So we're hoping that we'll get a lot of people out. He's supposed to haul the stuff away. When we do a big cleanup, you know, we leave the stuff at a location and Streets or Parks and Recreation picks it up. We're also looking at Parks and Recreation, because we're so frustrated about this. So Parks and Recreation has also agreed, they have no dumping signs, that they don't, you know, part of it is just they don't have enough skilled trade staff. So tomorrow we're doing a walk and coming up with locations for them to install more no dumping signs, because there's a lot of locations that are frustrating. You know, for me, personally, I mean, I think a lot of this is just a symptom of poverty. And we don't want, you know, I mean, a lot of the stuff that we've seen in the park is clearly from people who got evicted or got kicked out, you know, or we have people living in the park. I mean, it's really very much a symptom of all the stuff that's wrong with our society. So, you know, but I also think that the other side of that is that in other neighborhoods, the city gets out there and they pick up. Here, the expectation is that there's just going to be short dumping. And it's ridiculous, right?
So is that just because of the area where the park is? Like they think of this area isn't ritzy,
Yeah, I think that in communities with a lot of brown and black people, it's a lower, I mean, I don't know how else to say it, it's really like an environmental justice issue. I think that, stuff happens everywhere. I'm sure that there's occasional short dumping in the Pennypack and the Wissahickon, but the city responds to that. And I think part of the inequity is just like, oh, that's what happens in those neighborhoods. Well, people in those neighborhoods pay taxes too. I think that we've really seen that with litter and short dumping.
And I agree, Julie. I think the city pays a lot of attention to Wissahickon and Pennypack, and sometimes Tacony Creek gets lost in that. But that's a loss for the city because this creek is really, it's such a historic place and really beautiful. And for the city not to invest resources in this is a disgrace. And I think the best thing that's like important, I think, is just like getting the word out about how important this creek is. I think the more people know about this issue and the more people that are involved can potentially involve and get the attention of Sherelle Parker and these other elected officials about taking action. So I can in complete agreement with you in this, and I think just letting people know. And I think with this survey, hopefully more people will begin to realize, the issues at Tacony Creek and also about getting involved.
Thank you. And we should talk more about some of this stuff. One issue is all the people who are doing car washes, all over the city, and the wastewater goes into a storm drain and then goes into the creek. And people tend to dump, they leave bags and everything, but people are trying to make a living, so it's hard. And the staff I've really calmed down. I mean, Alex can tell you I get really upset, and I've just tried not to engage with people because sometimes it just gets really frustrating, and it's just hard. So anybody have other stuff? I feel like I'm talking a lot. Other questions?
Well, I had a question when I was trying to figure out my microphone. I was going to ask Kevin, what did you say that your job is, or who do you work for? Because I got cut off.
Yeah, thanks, Gwen. I'm an organizer with 2 and 5 People's Alliance. So we're a community organization citywide that has a lot of members around Albany and lower Northeast area. So we've been working in regards to the trash issues around this area, specifically around the 5600 block of Newtown Ave, also known as Snake Road. So that's what we've been doing, and happy to get in touch and let you know.
So we can send out an email. Malcolm will send out an email after this and give people everybody's contact information, if that's okay. And I know we have a directory that we sent to some of you with folks who are willing to share their information. I mean, we want people to communicate with each other. We don't have to be in the middle. We want people to feel like they can contact somebody else and say, you want to take a walk in the park, or I've been worried about this. Can we talk about this? So something just went in and out of my brain. It's very hard to, it's been a long day. I started the day by almost having jury duty, and I didn't. So one of the positive things about, we try to focus on the positive, is Councilwoman Parker she's been responsive. And a number of years ago, because we know how long things take, we were very concerned. There's some spots where people get into the park that are particularly terrible in terms of pedestrians and everything. And one of those, I mean, there's a bunch of them, but one of them is on Rising Sun. because it's not like it is at the Pennypack or the Wissahickon where the road is raised and there's a light and people can cross and the cars slow down. Rising Sun is really awful where the trail crosses Rising Sun. So we talked to her about this a number of years ago, and we're actually getting a light there that will be the light that you can push for pedestrians. So those things cost about $100,000, and which is so crazy. And that Rising Sun is actually a state road. So this was sort of a complex thing that apparently the city's paying for this. The state will do, PennDOT will do the installation. And we're working with, who are we working with, Malcolm? The Clean Air Council. They're very committed to pedestrian improvements and making walking streets and everything safer. So they're actually coming out and doing a walk audit with us. They do these things called walk audits where they then have all the information and data to give to like the streets department and say, this is what this area looks like, and these are our recommendations. Because we don't know, there are other things that could be done with that traffic light. And we want to be able to say to the city and the state, while you're doing this, could you do some other things at that spot that will make it safer? So that's supposed to happen within our lifetimes, like in the next year, I think, which is I think maybe this spring, which is pretty promising. The other thing that's happening that's positive is we are getting locator signs. And we've also been talking about this for years. So they have these in the Wissahickon. I don't know if they have them in the Pennypack, but it's a sign that has a number. And if you need to call the police, if you have an emergency in the park, you call the police, you tell them what number you're at, and it's mapped and they can find you. And that is I feel like that's something that will really help as well. So I just wanted to mention those two things. And then I have some updates. Do you guys have anything else you want to talk about? So you want to hear updates? I think we lost.
Yes, let's hear the updates.
We lost Glenn. Okay, so traffic light was a good one. The locator signs. Malcolm is going to show. We continue to have regular runs. We have a wonderful woman that leads runs. She's pretty crazy. If you want to join her at 5 a.m., she's got quite a group. And then, we have a Saturday walk. We would love to have more walks if we could find more walk leaders. So think about that if you're interested. Thomas McHale leads the Saturday walk. He has a wonderful group that walks with him. They have gotten very tight and they really walk and have a wonderful time. So we'd love to add some other days. And then we're still doing virtual yoga. And that will kick off in person in April at Tabor and Olney. And all these things are free. In addition, we have maple sugaring. So yay, Malcolm's screen sharing.
I'm just going to pull up the flyer for maple sugaring.
No, that's good. I can't do this at all. So we've done maple sugaring in the past. It's a really special, I grew up in New England, so like for me, maple sugaring is like a thing, but it has roots in indigenous culture, it's nature, we give out waffles. It's a really lovely family program. So this year we've moved it around, so we're going to be back at Iron Ramona on March 12th. It's free, it's from 1 to 2:30. It's a really family friendly event. And we always need volunteers for these things too. This is very organized. We have an educator who set this up, and people go through stations. So you really learn how maple sugaring happens. And then, like I said, we have your fave trash man on, there he is, on the 19th. And what he brings is he brings a lot of people, and he has access to getting haulers and trucks and stuff that we don't have, because we would really like to get that area cleaned up. Then we also have, so we were talking about the murals. Those bird murals were done a few years ago. We did them in a very stealth way. We didn't get any permission. They were done by Philly artists, but not local neighborhood artists. And we didn't tell anybody about them. We just got them up. And people have really loved them. And it's been a really wonderful part of the park. And, you know, they've gotten tagged consistently. Pre-COVID, they weren't being, until about this year, they hadn't been really badly tagged. And the guys who did them, the artists from Vert Collective, did them so that they wouldn't need, they did it so that most of the tagging would go on the outside of the circle that the bird is in. This past, 6 months, they've been really tagged. So we've got a day, we decided to do this as a community event, which is the best way to do it, instead of just having Vert come and repaint them. And they are all spray painted. It's pretty incredible. So there she is. So Vert Collective, the artist's name is Evan Lovett. He will be coming out on April 30th. I don't know exactly what time yet. We're probably going to be there all day. And he and one of his other guys that did it with him will come out. And then we'll also have Jay Coriano, who's the local artist who did the murals on the trail. So they're going to come together. I don't think they've met each other, which is kind of neat. So they're both coming out, and the birds will get repaired, and we'll do some art activities for kids and families. And Jay has a lot of ideas up his sleeve about things that people can take home or leave in the park. So we're excited about that. And then here comes my cat. And then I wanted to make sure that Alex had a chance to talk about, here it is, Wednesday cleanups.
Yeah, I'm gonna just keep it short since it's almost 7. So basically it's just cleanups happen on a Wednesday. They're from 10 to 12, they're 2 hours. If you feel like there's a location on here you can make it out to, you can just reach out to me, or you can just go on our website, ttfwatershed.org, and it should be a registration form where you can just fill out the form, and it'll just let me know beforehand, like, hey, you're confirmed for that day. And that'll also help me keep track too of who to contact for that day, just to confirm, so get you till I could be prepared on my end to bring tools or whatever needed for that day. So if you see a day on there you feel like you can make it out to, just reach out or sign up.
And Kevin, if you could share those, that would be great.
Yeah, happy to share everything with our group.
Awesome.
Thank you. And I think one of the things we've learned from COVID is that you don't have to have 25 people come to everything. So, you could get 6 adults who are really cranking and, really transform an area and get a lot of stuff picked up. So, and people notice.
Julie, can I ask you a quick question?
Yes, Gwen.
My phone is acting crazy. So the last thing you said when I came back on, you said something like, oh, there's activities for children. What was the last thing you talked about? Do you have any idea?
Yes, I do. And we can't have it without your children coming. So it won't be any fun without them. So we're fixing the bird murals. The bird murals are getting repainted and refreshed on April 30th.
Okay.
It's a Saturday, and the artists are going to bring hands-on stuff for kids to do.
That is so exciting, because we literally just walked past there. I forget when it was, and I was so discouraged because it was just tagged up like crazy.
It is really crazy.
And the
I'm
news,
hoping, yeah. I'm hoping we can get the taggers to come out.
Yeah.
And join us. So, I don't know. I think that was an area where the tagging wasn't that great. There was also tagging behind those walls that we left. We're never going to touch the area under Roosevelt Boulevard. It's amazing. The tagging there is amazing. It's fine. But we would like to keep those birds. Right, so I think we're done. We have 5 more minutes if anybody has anything else on their minds.
I'm sorry, I keep talking, but last thing. Alex, I was going to ask, are you ever going to do the cleanup days? Is it always going to be Wednesdays? Because I work Wednesday morning, so I would like to help out, but that never works. So I'm just wondering, is this going to be a temporary time, or will it stay Wednesdays for the foreseeable future?
So it's gonna be Wednesdays, but we also have second Saturday cleanups as well. We're having each month we do a cleanup on a second Saturday. So I'll definitely keep that in mind.
Yeah, and you know what, Gwen? So Bennett Compost does cleanups. So they're over where the parks and they're on Rising Sun, over where the Parks and Recreation facility was. It's a composting facility. And
Yeah, I
they
just-
do,
I
they
got so
do, Alex goes with them. They do cleanups on Thursday mornings.
Oh, okay. That's good to know.
Yeah, and if you're free, come out.
And if people think Wednesday's a terrible day, we just picked Wednesday, you know, if there's a better
I
day
don't-
for people.
Because me, I was just wondering, the Saturday work, I forgot about the Saturday ones.
Okay, well, thank you, everybody. This has been very encouraging. Hi. Very encouraging and wonderful. It's really good to see you all. And next, you know, we want to keep meeting. One of the things we're going to do, I think, is make sure that everybody who comes brings somebody else. We know how important that is because we obviously want to grow this group. We have a lot to do and we need more hands to help. But I think having Kevin as our new short dumping best friend will really be helpful. Okay.
Yeah, happy to help.
That's great. Thank you. So everybody go eat something.
Thank
Or
you.
watch the news. That's pretty terrible too. So thank you. Thank you, Malcolm and Alex.
Thank
Yeah, of
you.
course.
Good night.
Of course.
Have a good night. Be safe, everybody.
Everyone.